and welcome to MyCustomXbox.com's tutorial video on how to prep a controller for paint. We're going to jump right into it. First thing you want to do is make sure it's all disassembled. You want to have latex powder-free gloves on. You want to take some Dawn dish soap. Make sure you wash all the parts with some warm to hot water and Dawn dish soap. You don't have to have tons of soap. Just wipe it all down. Dry it off completely. Each part that you're going to paint. Then you're going to want to take Q-tips and either paint thinner, if you're really serious, or some rubbing alcohol for those of us who have this laying around. Preferably not the green kind, but that's all I had right now for this video. You're going to, get one side wet and start wiping this down. And you want to rub this off. Oil is your biggest problem when you do a paint job. Anything that you've touched is going to have some oil naturally from your body. I like to wash with one side, dry with the other side just to make sure I rub it good. Then take your blue towel preferably, make sure it gets all cleaned off. That will remove all the oil as long as you're still using gloves. Do that to each part, including the triggers, including the start select buttons, including the LB RB buttons and the top plate and the bottom plate. So we've rubbed everything down with paint, with alcohol and paint thinner, or vice versa. If you're going to use vinyl paint, there's another step, but we'll talk to you about that in case you want to do that in the painting video. So now what we want to do is tape off everything that's going to be affected. And I want to show you a trigger. On the trigger, there's a hinge, there's a little plate here. Anything that's going to move, you do not want to get paint on. So I've already prepped one here. This has got 6 or 7 pieces of paint, and this is when that also important glass tabletop that I keep talking to everybody about. Everybody's like, why glass? Why glass? This is why glass. Gently place your pieces of tape down, for instance, on the trigger and also on the sync button. If you want to see this one right here, I've got this one prepped already. You want to tape off on the sync button all the parts except for the tip. You especially want to tape off this where the plastic weld goes, because we're going to super glue that back on. And I've just found that without paint, it works a lot better. If you get any paint on the outside of that, it sticks. And so you do not want to paint that. And the way you do that is with your tape on here. If we're going to do the sync button, I'll just create a small little sliver here, and you can just cut right onto the glass with your X-Acto knife. That's why I love using glass top. And voila, we have a perfect piece of tape. You guys are already seeing a little bit into the how to make stickers and decals or patterns for other things. So for the triggers, we're just going to make a bigger piece. And we're just going to pull that off. And now we have these perfect little pieces that we can apply at will. I like to start on the trigger, especially up here on that little ridge. Come down, and then I lay little pieces over it to cover the tops of these pieces. But just make sure anything that's going to get painted is covered. Next up is the LB RB buttons. This you want to make sure you don't want to paint the inside. It's not life or death if you do, but what I like to do on these is place a little bit of tape over this, come down here and fold it back up. It's a little bit of a pain to work with the gloves, but it's well worth it on the final results. There we go. Now you've got a little bit of stand. I would do 2 or 3 of these, and then you can actually use some tape, kind of like what we've done here, make some legs. That way you can place them on a box top or whatever you're going to paint on, and it's movable then, and this will stay up. You don't have to worry about it touching the ground, messing up your paint job. Also, on the top plate, don't worry about the sync button when you're going to paint inside that if you've elected to pull it out. What you're going to do is you're going to take your X-Acto knife afterwards. You're going to try and spray as little as possible inside, but then you're going to take your X-Acto knife, just scrape that until it becomes white inside again. That way the sync button goes back and forth. Top plate, do the same thing about building a leg right here, wrap around these 2 circular sections. That'll keep it so it slides back on properly. Let's see, battery case. Now this is an important one. The battery is important because you do not want to paint, if you want it to fit well, you can paint everything if you want, you just want to make sure you cover the contacts. Just make sure, worst case scenario, cover that. Best case scenario is you want to tape over this lip right here and all the way around the back and the latch, because then it'll actually set into the Xbox controller better. So I have an example here, and what you do is you place the tape right over the top of this, and then you're going to use your knife that you have to just cut out this, and it goes really quickly as long as it's sharp, and then just press it back down. Make sure you're all along the lip there. You've got everything taped off. Tape off this side. I hate doing the AA battery version. It's really hard, especially with the lip. Nothing to hold on to. And just get it prepped up so that when you put it down, you can spray everywhere you need to, and everything will still be okay. I want to go over real briefly the back. One of the things I love to do is keep the serial number and keep the Xbox wireless controller sticker on here. So the way to do that is if you go to MyCustomXbox.com, we have a PDF with the exact dimensions that you need of a piece of tape to cut out. Just go to your tape, go ahead and draw it out with a ruler and a pen, and then if you're on your glass top like we were talking about, this won't be exact. Just cut it out, and you now have the perfect little template, so to speak, on what we can put on this controller. So we have that little template. We're going to place it in there. I know it's not exact. You guys know what I'm trying to do. You want to make it exact. Get it in there, and then when we're all done with the paint job, we can actually peel that off and be left with a pretty cool feature. The other thing that we haven't spoken about yet is the bottom plate. Do the same type of method that we were talking about with everything else. I would build a couple wraps of tape around this base piece, and then you have something that you can attach to a table, let it stand up. Let me show you an example of one that's painted. You'll see that everything pretty much got painted except for the bottom here. That's where the tape was, and I built myself a little stand. An example of the bottom of the controller, once you have that thing there, is you have the nice sticker there with no paint on it. That's nice. Essentially, that's it. If you want to paint the D-pad, you're going to use the same principle. It's really easy. I like to just cut off one of my strips of tape here, and let me get this. I like to paint the D-pad. I think it looks cool. Just wrap it around everything on the bottom, and that'll make sure your connection's right. You have this little mushroom that develops, and you can stand that up. I like to tape everything down on the box or whatever I'm painting on. That makes it, you want to wipe this down also. Anything that's going to get painted, you want to wipe down. Also on the select start buttons, if you're going to be daring and paint these, I like painting them. You want to make sure that you don't do more than half of it. Here's a painted version. You want to make sure that that half is separated, and you do not paint the tabs going into the controller. That'll allow it to slide in and out better and keep it from getting caught. I think that's about it for our prep video. We'll be going over how to make a design. You know, on our next video here, you can do a camouflage. You can do tiger stripe. I know is very popular. You can do a solid color, base color, different. Just depends on how crazy you want to get. We'll give you the technique and the tools to do that. Once again, if you'd like a step-by-step directions, just go to MyCustomXbox.com, and we have a PDF going step-by-step through this. Thanks, and hope to talk to you soon.